So there's 7 board members of OpenAI right now. They are not democratically elected. AI will just become part of society. There are going to be scary times ahead, and there's going to be a lot of transition. I totally get why people are scared. I think people should be somewhat scared.
This is not your typical Sam Altman interview. In this one, Sam is much more open and vulnerable. He talks about AGI, meditation, Facebook, consciousness, and much, much more. My name is Ondrej, and this is Sam Altman's most spiritual interview. Subscribe if you like these breakdowns. Alright, so who is the interviewer? Well, his name is Jack Kornfield, and he is a prominent teacher of Buddhism. First, Sam talks about what the most fun part of working at OpenAI is.
The most fun part of the job is every day we just get this deluge of positive stories from people about the way they're transforming their lives, learning new things, learning how to meditate more, making spiritual progress, solving problems that they've had for a long time, just having fun.
Okay, so what can we expect the near future to look like? How will AI impact the upcoming few years?
Soon we'll start to see more scientific progress. We can hopefully cure a lot of diseases. I think we'll make progress on environmental problems that we face now with this new technology.
But why isn't Sam more afraid of AI taking over and all the other risks that come with such a massive rate of improvement?
I do think things are going to change a lot, and we try to be super upfront about this. And super open about it. Part of the reason that we try to release the technology, even in this imperfect state, is that we all think at the company it's really important that the whole world get a sense of what's happening. Many people in the field have advocated that this should be developed more in secret. And there are reasons for that. I don't want to totally dismiss it from a safety perspective. But this is going to be such a massive change to so many aspects of society that we need the world as a whole, as many people as we can, to understand this, to weigh in on it, for people and institutions to have time to think about this, to understand it, to really feel it, and gradually update and decide how we all want to move forward.
So will the future be just all positive, or will there be some hard times as well?
There are going to be scary times ahead, and there's going to be a lot of transition. I'm very confident this can be managed. I think the more we can all do it together, the more likely we'll get something that works for all of us. But it does mean we have to confront what I think will be one of the biggest technological changes we've ever had to confront. I think there will be good and bad, far, far more good than bad, like orders of magnitude more good than bad.
Now this is interesting. Sam thinks that the future of society won't be just made out of humans, but actually that this new form of intelligence will integrate into the society.
I think we will head towards a world where it's not just human intelligence, and we have this other thing. And there's like a lot of examples in sci-fi movies. We were talking about one backstage, like in Star Wars, you kind of just have C-3PO walking around and it's this other thing, and it's sort of surprisingly normal. I think AI will just become part of society, and it'll be different than human intelligence and very different than other parts of humanity, but it'll sort of collectively lift us all up.
Sam Altman thinks that there shouldn't be just one version of ChatGPT like there is now, but instead that individuals should have autonomy to customize and make the models however they want.
Within these very wide bounds, individuals should have a huge amount of autonomy, and they can decide, okay, here's what we society have globally decided, but here's my value system, and here's how I want ChatGPT version 19 to work for me. And I think that'll be a pretty good start.
Now there are a lot of variables when it comes to the future of AI, so much so that nobody can predict it. But there are a few things that Sam considers to be really important.
I think governance needs to be as democratically shared among all the people of Earth as much as possible, which includes not only what I was talking about earlier in terms of what the value systems are, but like literally whatever this global regulatory regime will be, and what an international consortium could look like, making decisions not only about the values in the systems, but how they're trained, how they're deployed, all of that. The second is that the benefits of the systems, the benefits of having these AI in the world get shared widely. Part of the reason that we started the company was a fear that it would be contained in a single tech company that wouldn't, that would use it sort of to maximize shareholder value.
It's funny that Sam Altman says that when Elon Musk, another one of the OpenAI founders, thinks that the company in recent years has gone far away from its original mission. Just listen to this.
It does seem weird that something can be a non-profit, open source, and somehow transform itself into a for-profit closed source. I mean, this would be like let's say you funded an organization to save the Amazon rainforest, and instead they became a lumber company and chopped down the forest and sold it for money. And you'd be therefore like, well, wait a second, that's the exact opposite of what I gave the money for.
So how do we prevent the scenario we have now, where only a handful of people control the most powerful AI systems out there?
Imagine a world where getting to use a powerful AI is sort of the high order bit for what an individual can make happen in the world. And you don't want use of that system to go to whoever has the most money. My dream world would be, there's 8 billion-ish people on Earth. You talk about all the compute available once these systems are trained. You slice it up into 8 billion pieces. You give out one of those to each year to everybody on Earth, and they can do whatever they want with it. They can pool it for a problem they think is important. They can, use it to talk to a future version of ChatGPT. They can sell it, whatever. But how we're going to distribute access to these systems, I think, will become super important over time.
Next, Sam talks about Facebook and what went wrong with it.
Almost everybody that worked at Facebook is like a good person, but I deeply believe that incentives are superpowers. And if you throw people into an incentive system where you're sort of trying to locally optimize to make a number go up and to the right, that has very complex effects.
So how is OpenAI different? What did the leadership team do to ensure that money doesn't corrupt the company?
The structure that we put in place for OpenAI was this thing that we called a capped profit, where people that work at OpenAI, our investors, our employees, can get a great return. Almost all of the economics that we generate over time go to a nonprofit that is going to try to figure out how to use that for the best interest of humanity.
This is a controversial one. Will AI increase or decrease the discrimination among humans? Whether that's by color, gender, social standing, what does Sam think?
I'm optimistic it'll decrease that. It certainly needs to be paid close attention to. And if you just sort of blindly train on the internet, you will end up with something that none of us should be proud of. But, there's a lot of techniques in the field now about how we align these systems after the pre-training step. And a lot of people have said that they were worried about this, and now they use this and they think it's a less biased system than most humans, and that they find, or they're hopeful, that it'll help people who want to become less biased. Obviously, I don't think an AI should project force values onto anyone, but as a check, as a tool, I don't think it has all the psychological flaws we do.
Now, Sam talks a lot about the potential benefits of AI. However, previous technologies like social media and phones don't have the best track record. For example, suicide rates are higher than ever. More and more people are addicted to their phones, and those are just the obvious stats. So why is Sam Altman so certain that AI will be different, that it will actually improve our lives?
ChatGPT is only less than 5 months old. Maybe it's exactly 5 months old today, actually. No, tomorrow. So we just haven't had very much time to see how this is going to evolve. People who are using it as a sort of life coach or for personal growth, or as a sort of, and I feel kind of icky even saying this, but as a friend, as a companion, as a supporter, that they're getting incredible value out of that. I'm not sure we want that. I don't think we know yet. I feel quite strange about that.
I think we can all agree that being a CEO can be quite stressful. So it's nice to hear Sam talk about meditation and how it improved his life and help him be more calm.
I am really happy for all of the time I've spent meditating, because having like a reserve of calmness to draw on these last few months, where it feels like I've just been in this crazy onslaught. Meditation has definitely been the center of this for me. I kind of like found it somewhat randomly, and it immediately stuck and was very transformative.
Nowadays, OpenAI is all across the news, but that success is still very recent. Before that, it was 7 long years of trial and error.
In the early years, it was like, are we going to get anything to work at all?
Right.
Like, this has all happened fairly quickly. I mean, not in the grand scheme. We've been working on the company for seven something years. But at this point, we're relatively confident. We know how to make technological progress from here. Yeah. And now a huge amount of the conversations are about where we want to go and how we want to manage things.
One of the biggest and most important questions when it comes to AI is, can it become conscious? Can it be self-aware? Can it maybe develop an ego? Well, this is what Sam thinks.
It's been interesting to watch people wrestle with these questions through the lens of AI. Say, okay, well, do I think this thing could be aware? If it's aware, does it have a sense of self? Is there a self? If so, where did that come from? What if I made a copy? What if I cut the neural network in half? And you kind of go down this and you sort of get to the same answers as before, but it's like it's a new perspective, a new learning tool, and there's a lot of, a lot of chatter about this on Reddit. There's like subreddits about it, and it's been fun to watch all of that.
Now, why is Sam doing so many interviews lately? Is he forced to do them by all the public pressure, or does he genuinely want to?
Look, I think anybody who's building what we're building has an absolute obligation to show up and answer questions. I look forward to a time when there's more people to show up and answer questions. I'm sort of a shy person. I will go back to my normal hideout from the press strategy, but yeah, I think it's like it would be super unreasonable not to. So I'm trying to show up and answer questions anytime. I think we deserve great scrutiny right now.
In every interview he does, Sam is very good at appearing calm and collected. But is he actually worried deep down?
It would be ridiculous not to be worried. And I have huge empathy for people that are a lot worried. I am very optimistic that we can manage through this, but I also am in it every day. And most people are busy with other things in their lives. They don't get to think about this every day. They don't get to see the rate of progress. And again, that's part of why we thought it's so important to release this and let people gradually, or at least gradually relative to what it could be otherwise, have time to adapt and think about this and decide what they want.
Is AI going to be primarily a technological revolution, or will it be more of a social revolution that changes everything we know about how society works?
I go back and forth about whether we should understand this as primarily a technological revolution or a societal revolution. Obviously, this is like both, like all technology revolutions are, but I also think it's always annoying to say this time it's different, or, my thing is super cool. But I do think in some sense, AI will be bigger than a standard technological revolution and is much closer to a societal revolution, which means we need to think about it as a social problem primarily, not just a technological problem. And so how we are going to choose to navigate this and this speed with which it will happen, even if we slow it down as much as we can, even if we do get this, dream regulatory body set up tomorrow, it's still going to happen on a societal scale relatively fast.
I have to admit, this is a really interesting way to think about AI, and I haven't heard anyone else explain it like this. Okay, AI will change everything. All of you watching already know that, but should the people be scared?
I think people should be somewhat scared, but I think people should also take pride in the fact that humanity has come together to do incredibly complicated things before. You mentioned the example of nuclear weapons. I think we just need to do the same thing here. We need to come together, decide what we want, decide how we're going to enforce it, and accept the fact that the future is going to be very different and probably wonderfully better.
During this point, I realized just how much responsibility is on Sam's shoulders. If you think about it, the entire world is kinda looking at him right now and hoping he has all the answers, when in reality, he's just a single individual like you or me. Let's look at the day ChatGPT was released. What was the atmosphere like inside of OpenAI?
We thought it was going to be good. We wouldn't have shipped something we thought was going to be bad. But I also think it would be ridiculous to sit around and say, we think this is going to be the fastest growing, product ever. So in that sense, we were surprised. But it was by magnitude, not we had seen the utility it could provide people. Things grow fast because people like them.
Okay, this is actually me reading between the lines, and this might be a stretch, but I think in the next clip, Sam Altman actually hinted at when he thinks AGI will be created. Listen carefully.
This is changing very, very fast. That this isn't a matter of decades, but it's a matter of the next year or 2 or 3.
No, maybe more than that.
Or a few years, but there's some really, really big changes.
A little more than 2 or 3 years. Very interesting. A lot of people are predicting AGI within the next year, 18 months. But Sam Altman thinks that it's more of a 5-year play. Next, Sam talks about OpenAI's strategy for releasing products and seeing how the public reacts, and then taking that feedback and implementing it in the next version.
Really, the whole world is now engaged in this conversation, and we will debate and wrestle with questions about what we want, where we'd like to see this go.
And I have to give Sam credit here, because they've actually done this. The first version of ChatGPT was very biased, especially leaning towards the political left. But with the release of GPT-4, OpenAI managed to eliminate a lot of that bias. Let's talk about AGI. What is the actual definition of it? Because everyone seems to have their own definition. Some people think that AGI will be God, others think that GPT-4 is already AGI. Now, what does Sam Altman think?
People define AGI in these different ways. One for me is when the system can go just figure something new out. The reason that I'm excited for that is I think we need more scientific and technological progress in the world. And when these tools can help humans do that faster, come up with things that are out of our reach right now, we can have a much, much better world.
So will AGI be this one scary overlord ruling over the entire planet? Or will it be millions of small agents integrated in our lives?
I think there's been this caricature in sci-fi of it's gonna be, and I kind of have thought this way too sometimes because it's just easy to visualize, it's gonna be this one giant brain in the sky and it's gonna kind of answer any question and it's gonna be this like singular thing. I think what will happen is more like a society of systems that are, human scale, a little above human scale, but maybe can do things faster or better at certain things. And like all of us do, they contribute to the scaffolding, to the accumulated wisdom, the technology tree, the build out of society. And any one bad actor is controllable, just like with humans. Things get steered and kind of flow throughout the community. We're part of it too. But I think of it as like, many new members of society pushing all of society forward.
Now here, Jack asks a really important question.
Who actually gets to make these decisions about when things are released, or how they're used?
So there's 7 board members of OpenAI right now. They are not democratically elected. We should make them, and we want to figure out over time how to do that. It actually turns out to be a harder design problem than I thought it would, to say like, we would like, someday to turn over governance to democratic votes of the entire world. But I think that's a good platonic ideal to get to. Maybe you want to have, some checks and balances on that because people voting in the heat of the moment sometimes vote with
Sometimes
too much
people
passion.
vote very interesting characters for president, for sure. So.
Yeah, but I would still take democracy over any other system.
Totally.
And I still think kind of the right for all of us to self-determine the future here seems right. But it's like 7 board members. I don't have any special control. I mean, I have like a lot of soft power, but I don't have like super voting shares. I actually don't have any equity in OpenAI at all. So it's really the board with the power.
You heard that right. Sam Altman doesn't have any equity in OpenAI. Now this might come as a shock to some of you, but personally, I think Sam is overplaying this fact. He already has a ton of money. His personal portfolio alone has over 400 companies on it. But once you reach a certain level, money stops being the main currency. It's actually power. And Sam, being the CEO of a company that might develop a super intelligent AI in the near future, gives him way more power than most billionaires could even dream of. Now, if you want me to interview Sam, please follow me on Twitter. That way I can get noticed when I reach out to him. Link in the description.